Russian-backed rebels and Ukrainian forces accused one another of firing shells across the ceasefire line in eastern Ukraine on Thursday. It is raising alarm at a time when Western countries have warned of a possibility of a Russian invasion any day. Kyiv said rebels fired shells at several locations in the Donbass separatist region. An eyewitness video from Donetsk on Thursday captured local streets and buildings as the sound of alleged shelling is heard. Ukraine's military released footage showing the kindergarten that they said had been shelled by separatists. The military said no children were hurt. The Ukrainian president called the shelling a big provocation. Earlier, Russian-backed separatists in eastern Ukraine accused government forces of opening fire on the territory 4 times in the past 24 hours. Kyiv and its Western allies have repeatedly said in recent weeks that they believe Moscow could use an incident in the separatist conflict as justification for an invasion. The NATO Secretary-General on Thursday.
So we are concerned that Russia is trying to stage a pretext for an armed attack against Ukraine. It is still no clarity, no certainty about the Russian intentions.
Russia similarly has accused Kyiv of trying to provoke an escalation to recapture rebel territory by force. Moscow said it was seriously concerned about the flare-up of violence in Donbass. The Kremlin spokesperson on Thursday said, "We hope that our opponents from the Western capitals will use their influence to warn Kyiv authorities from further escalating the tensions." How did the Donbass conflict come about? In early 2014, large-scale protests in Kyiv and other cities ousted a Kremlin-friendly president. Then, separatists in pro-Russia Luhansk and Donetsk regions, known collectively as Donbass, broke away from Ukrainian government control and proclaimed themselves independent people's republics. Ukrainian troops and volunteer battalions engaged in ferocious and devastating battles with the rebels. Ukraine and the West have accused Russia of backing the separatists with troops and weapons. Moscow rejects the accusations, saying that any Russians who fought in the East were volunteers. Leaders of France and Germany began efforts to negotiate a truce in talks with Russia and Ukraine, in what became known as the Normandy format. In 2015, a ceasefire agreement known as Minsk II brought an end to major combat in the conflict. Since then, the monitoring mission from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe has typically reported dozens of ceasefire violations each day. The deal includes a pullback of heavy weapons and foreign fighters from the line of contact and an exchange of prisoners. The document obliges Ukraine to grant special status to the separatist regions and to offer a sweeping amnesty for the separatists. Many in Ukraine resent the deal, seeing it as a betrayal of national interests and a blow to the country's integrity. The widespread public dismay has effectively blocked the deal's implementation. Russia insists it's not a party to the conflict and casts it as part of Ukraine's internal affairs. Amid recent tensions over the Russian military build-up near Ukraine, France and Germany have intensified their efforts to broker more four-way talks on the conflict. The Kremlin said it would serve no purpose until Ukraine agrees to abide by the deal's obligations. Eddie Aitken, NTD News.